to show you guys my trend line strategy. It is called the 3 touch point trend line. Now, this strategy here I learned it from Tori Trade. Some of you but not Tori Trade. She's a profitable trend line trader. Yeah. So I'm going to use BTC USD as the pair for this example. So we are going to first start with the daily time frame. Yeah. Since most of us are day traders, let's start from the daily time frame. So we are going to draw trend lines. Yes. So we can start with the daily time frame. We can use the ray. The ray is even better. So we can start placing trend lines. Yeah. Let me delete this. Let me use actually this trend line. Yeah. So we can start using the trend lines like this. So you're going to first start by drawing trend lines on the daily time frame that can touch as many touch points as possible. Yeah, you get the drill. So I can see that this trend line here can touch like 3 touch points. You can see that. You can see that very well. That this trend line has over 3 touch points. Yeah, you can see we have the first touch point here. The first touch point is there. The second one is there. The fourth one is there, and the fifth one is there. So that is the trend line on the daily time frame, which is bullish. Then you can look for another trend line. Since we have drawn the one from down, coming from down like this, we have to also look for another trend line coming this side like that. So we now go to the top part, which is the bearish trend line, and draw as many touch points as possible. So I'm going to start by tapping it on the top part, the highest point, and then bringing it to touch as many touch points as possible. So this one here so far has only 2 touch points, which is not bad. You can see that is only 2 touch points. Yes. Then you again, so you can see that we have the first touch point here and the second touch point here. You can see that this is what I'm trying to mean. We have the first touch point there and the second touch point there. So it has only taken 2 touch points. Then again, you draw another trend line. So if this point was your point A and this point was your point B, the next trend line you're going to draw should start from point B. Yes, you get the drill. So you're going to get the next trend line and start at this point. Since we can see that there are more, since we can see that there are more touch points, start at this point here. Then, so we're going to do another trend line like this. You start from the last point of the previous trend line. Again, you add another one. You can see now we have another trend line again. Yeah, that is the next one. So it seems now on the daily time frame, we have drawn as many trend lines as possible. That is close to the current price, you can see. Now, since we are done with the daily time frame, we can now go to the 4-hour time frame and look for another trend line which is close to the current price. So let's go to the 4-hour time frame. Now, you can see now we are close to the 4-hour time frame. Yes. So like I said, when we come back to the 1-day time frame, this 1-day time frame here, you remember this bullish trend line here had over 4 touch points. Yes. Now we can name them A. We can name them like A, B, and C. Let me delete this. We can name them A, B, and C. First A, this is B, this is C, and this is D. The last touch point is D next to the current price. You can see it. So when you go to the lower time frame, you're going to start from D, which is the 4-hour time frame. So you're going to start another trend line on D. on the last point, which was on the higher time frame. So we're going to start with the last point and start another trend line. So the last point on the higher time frame becomes the first point on the lower time frame. So we're going to draw another trend line like this. Yeah. So you're going to start from down here and let it touch as many touch points as possible. So you can see that is our touch point. So this one here has only 2 touch points. Yeah. Uh, you can see we have the first touch point here, and the second touch point there. Now, like I still said, this touch point here, the first touch point here was the last touch point on the higher time frame. Yeah. So let me even draw this trend line even more, much more better. The daily time frame trend line for it to touch very well. Something of that sort. Something of that sort. So you can see that we have now drawn another bullish trend line, this one here on the 4-hour time frame. Now we can now start looking for other trend lines which are on the we can now start looking for bearish trend lines on the 4-hour time frame. So you can see that our 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 two trend lines which were on the 1-day time frame, which is this one, let me show it to you, which is this one and this one, are on the daily time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, this one here is the was the latest time frame. This one here, you can see it, the lower one. Now I said that we can name these points here where it touched on the daily time frame as A and B. Yes. Now on the 4-hour time frame, this B here is going to turn as your A, as it is going to become the beginning point on the 4-hour time frame. So now look for other touch points at this point, which is now from here as A. Then look for many touch points as possible. I can start from A here, tap on it like that, then look for many touch points as possible. You can see this one here so far has got, wow, as many touch points as possible. Yes, you can see. So on the 4-hour time frame, we have now this trend line here. You can see it very well. It has very many touch points. So on the 4-hour time frame, we have now this trend line here. We have now this trend line here. This one. We have now this trend line. Yes. And you can see that it has got as many touch points as possible. Let me show you. It has got it has got this first touch point. It has got the second touch point here. It has got the third touch point, and the fourth touch point is this side. And the fourth touch point is this side. You can see it. So when do we take the trade? First of all, the trend line you're going to take the trade should be breaking price. Price should be breaking outside of it. And that trend line should have at least 3 touch points. So for example, we have this trend line here on the 4-hour time frame, which has already 3 touch points. You can see this trend line has already 3 touch points. The first touch point, the second touch point, the third touch point, and the fourth touch point is here. So when price breaks outside, like at this point, when price breaks it and start going up, is now when you take the trade. So let us come close to it and I show you. So you can see that as soon as price broke outside, you would have taken the trade here at that point. Yes. So now that is your entry criteria. Every trend line should have an entry criteria and an exit criteria. Yes. So as soon as price breaks the 3 touch points, the trend line should have 3 touch points already. Don't take the trade if the trend line does not have 3 touch points. Yeah. So until the trend line accumulates 3 touch points is when you can take the trade. So this trend line on the 4-hour time frame, this trend line here, becomes the trend line you're going to take the trade on. So as soon as price breaks it, we enter for the trade. Now, when do we exit? Yes. Now, you see there's this trend line here, this one here. This trend line is called our safety line. Yes. Now, mark you, since you already entered on this trade, you're already in profits, you can see that price is already up. Price has already gone a good direction. So when do we close the trade? We close the trade when price breaks the safety line. Like I said, that the safety line is this point. The safety line is this one. Yeah. So as soon as price breaks it, we are going to close the trade. So let's say that price goes a little bit up like this. Let me give you a rough example. Price goes a little bit up like this. Let me use price goes up like this, and then finally breaks the trend line. So at this point is where you close the trade, because price has broken your safety line. Yes, you can see this safety line here is what I'm meaning. This is your safety line. Yes. So your safety line has to be close to the price. So you can see our safety line is also a trend line in itself. Yeah. You can draw it to touch the tip, something of this sort. You can draw it to touch the tip like that. Yes, now that is the trend line. That is the safety line. So this safety line here is going to be your exit criteria, this one here. So if price breaks out of this trend line from this point and then continues going bullish, as soon as it breaks outside of the safety line at this point is where you close the trade, and that will be good profits. So let me give you another example. Let me use another point. Let me show you another safety line that you could have taken. So let us assume let's assume this was your trend line. Let me show it to you at this point. Let's just assume that this was your trend line. You can see how price obeyed this point. Yes, you can see that this trend line has over 3 touch points. Yes, you can see it. We have the first touch point here. The second touch point is here. The third touch point is here. The fourth touch point is here. And then price broke out at this point, at that point. Yes, that is your trend line. Now, you enter for buys. So price keeps on going up. You can see how price was going up. So now when you close the trade, you're going to draw a counter trend line. The counter trend line is this trend line here. Let me show you. Is this one from the lowest point like this. That is your counter trend line. So if you entered at this point, let me show you. If you entered for buys at this point, when price has gone up, as soon as price breaks the trend line here is when you close the trade, and then you take your profits. So that is what I mean by this strategy. Yeah, it's just as simple as that. But you have to draw your trend lines next to the current price action. So I hope it has made some sense.